Well, good morning. We've all had some rest, which is a really good thing. Memorial Day weekend, honoring our veterans, and just resting was really good for us. I know I got a lot of sleep and did nothing else except a veterans message. But as I reflected about the last week, it really was a historically productive session. Republicans in the House and Senate worked together. In the end, we reached out to the governor as well, and look what happened. We have the largest tax bill we've had in almost 2 decades, with relief to just about anyone you can think of. We have a transportation bill of $300 million plus money in the bonding bill, so it's over $500 million or $500 million that we're putting into roads and bridges, and that's really, really a good thing. But gridlock was unlocked as well. You think about some of the things around here that we've never been able to do in the last 5-10 years. We got Real ID done, which was very, very important for people that wanted to fly. We got it done. And then if you look at simple things like Sunday liquor, that couldn't be done, and that was done as well. And so everywhere you look, things happen. Gridlock was unlocked, and significant reforms and tax bills and bonding bill were done. And so we're excited. We're going to go around the state together just talking about the things that we did, and we're hoping the governor signs these bills. We worked all the way to the end and even past the deadline because we wanted them to be done. And we all had to give something. The governor gave things, we gave things, and in the end you both get a little bit, you give a little bit, but we feel like it's very, very good for Minnesota, and we believe he'll sign them, and we're going to travel around the state talking about it.
What he said. No, we're thanks for coming out this morning. We're really happy with the way session ended. I think I would agree it was the most productive session in recent memory. The fact that we were able to accomplish the largest tax bill in the last 20 years, the largest transportation road and bridge funding package ever that didn't include a gas tax. We're really proud of those accomplishments. And we got a lot of other things done as well. So we also think the fact that the surplus that was available, about 2/3 of that surplus was used for tax relief and for transportation for roads and bridges. We call that a great success. So we're really thrilled with the way session ended. Really excited about the road and bridge dollars, excited about the tax relief, and frankly, we're excited to go out around the state and talk about it.
That's good too.
Go ahead, Trace.
I have to say this is one of the best sessions I've been through. Our leaders did a fantastic job of working with the governor and negotiating with the governor, and I think this is really a victory for middle-class Minnesotans throughout the state. The tax relief bill that we put together, again, historic tax relief, and it affects middle-class families the most. Couldn't be happier about that. And the transportation package is going to help throughout the entire state of Minnesota. So I think that this session has been a historic win for Minnesotans, and I'm looking forward to the governor signing the bills. Sorry.
Well, I would like to thank my colleagues in both the House and Senate for all their hard work this session. It is a lot of hard work, but we got to the finish line. Not quite as quickly as we would have liked to, but we had some serious negotiations to do with the governor. I, of course, am most excited about the transportation bill, the largest transportation bill in state history, frankly. And there's a lot of pent-up demand for transportation projects, so we've front-loaded this with lots of bonding money in both GO bonds and trunk highway bonds. Also, the Real ID project, I happen to be involved with that as part of the conference committee. Great news for Minnesota citizens that want to fly an airplane. Speaking of airplanes, there's lots of funding for airports in the transportation bill, too. So all in all, a great session. Looking forward to signatures from the governor, and looking forward to flying around the state today.
Questions?
While you're up there, Chairman, will Minnesotans see any of this money this summer?
Well, those projects don't develop quite that quickly. There's quite a few orange cones around the state right now. In fact, as soon as people get done complaining about a lack of transportation funding, they start complaining about the orange cones. Transportation projects will go on, and we look forward to them being developed all across the state. Corridors of Commerce, a huge program, gets $50 million in cash plus $150 million in bonding, and that program goes on for the 4-year cycles. So they're really good news.
How about signatures? Several of you said you're hoping the governor signs. Has there been any communication with the governor since sine die on what his intentions or what your hopes are?
Well, I called the governor the day after, and we talked about the fact that in the end you both have to give, and that if he doesn't sign them, will it get any better when we get to the end of June or even July? So that's the part that he's contemplating. And then I called him again this morning and left a message. He said he was going to call me back. just a reminder of some of the things that we gave up, the things, we feel like we spent a lot more money than we should have. But that was the governor's request. That was something he pulled us to. And then the reforms that we had for taxes and bonding were the key things that we wanted. And so in the end, I think he will sign them, but I want to keep talking about it. And my fingers are crossed until it's done. I mean, that's the deal's done when he signs the bills.
Mr. Speaker, what's your opinion? If he doesn't follow through, do you feel like you had a deal?
I think we worked hand in hand with the governor through the end of session and through special session to get bills that he would and could sign. Now, did he commit to signing them? Not necessarily, but I think the work that went into them is going to be very difficult for the governor to walk away from at this point. And I don't see things getting easier if he were to not sign the bills and we go into a second special session. I just don't see that as a likely possibility or probability. I think that he will sign the bills. They do represent true compromise. I don't think there's, nobody got everything they wanted, and frankly, the governor had to give up some things, but we also had to give up some things. So I think that represents the compromise that Minnesotans were looking for this session.
Have you personally reached out to the governor, or are you letting your wingman?
The last time, I've been relaxing for the last few days. The last time that I spoke to the governor was at about 1 o'clock in the morning on Friday morning, just before we finished session to wrap up a couple of last few details in the HHS bill, but I assume he's been resting over the weekend and thinking about his action of signing these bills. So I'm confident he will sign them.
And what about your future? I've heard speculation you might announce your decision as soon as this week if you want his job.
I am going to be relaxing over the summer, so I wouldn't expect a decision very soon.
Okay.
What didn't happen that you were sorry that didn't happen?
Well, we spent more money than we thought we should in every area. That was what the governor wanted to have. He wanted more spending than we actually did, so that was probably a key area. Certainly there was a provision, the subcommittee on employee relations was something we initially had agreed upon and had to be taken out of the bill to get everything passed and to the governor's desk. That was a disappointment for me. We had a couple of pro-life pieces that were vetoed. We would have liked those done as well. So there's a number of things, but those are the things that come to mind right away. One last thing I'll say is we would have preferred to have more funding on the E12 formula rather than the $50 million that the governor wanted for early childhood. We would have given the schools more choice of what to do with that. And that's the give and take we talk about.
What about the funding for the Department of Revenue? Slipped in a different bill. Was that done with knowledge of leadership? Was that a crafty chairman? What's the backstory there?
No, it was done with the knowledge of the leadership. We certainly wanted there to be consequences if the tax bill wasn't signed. We know that a tax bill was vetoed a year ago. It's a tax bill that was very bipartisan. In fact, it was the most bipartisan, broadly supported tax bill ever vetoed by a governor. 89% of legislators voted for that. This tax bill is not much different than that one a year ago. A little bit different, but very similar in size. We didn't want to risk that this could be vetoed without any consequence. And so the funding for the Revenue Department is attached to a signature on the tax bill. If the tax bill does not get signed, the Revenue Department will not get funded. So there is a consequence that the governor needs to think about if he wants to take or not sign the tax bill.
Whose idea was that?
I'll let other people take credit for it. It was not mine, but
Nor mine.
Yeah, I actually think it might have been Jim Knobloch's idea, but others may have. That's who I heard it from, but others may have talked about it as well. But we had talked about searching for something so that there was a consequence for not signing the tax bill. We felt the tax bill a year ago should have been signed. We felt like it was broadly supported. We felt like Minnesotans wanted and expected that. The governor had said he supported it. Took him 5 days to find an excuse to veto it, and then of course he found one, which we didn't think was a valid excuse to veto that tax bill. And we feel like Minnesotans deserve to share in some of the prosperity that they've created at the state. And the best way to do that is by giving them some of their money back. We think that's pretty important.
Speaker, you folks will be flying to Greater Minnesota today. And one of the issues that came up, one of your members said the Dayton administration was waging a war on agriculture. And then a couple days later, some more of your members were talking about picking on Greater Minnesota in several other ways. Do you think the final results of the session resolve that, or is there still a problem?
Well, I think that, we obviously won many of the seats that we won out in Greater Minnesota. I think if you look at the map now of the state of Minnesota by legislative district, colored red or blue for party, Greater Minnesota belongs to Republicans now for the most part. And frankly, I think it's because our vision for the state aligns better with the values and vision of those that live in Greater Minnesota. I don't know whether it's reality or just perception that the governor has kind of turned his back on Greater Minnesota, but that perception does exist. And we feel like we need to be a party that represents all of Minnesota, not just Greater Minnesota, but all of Minnesota. And that's really what we've tried to do over the last 2 and 4 years.
Yeah, just one comment on that too. The signature issue was the buffer language and what the governor wanted to do. It was definitely farther than what we thought it should be. In the end, there was a compromise. The date for implementation did not change, but the penalty is not as severe in the beginning, 8 months, I believe it is. And we would have gone farther than that, but I do respect that the governor, that was his signature language of what he wanted to do to protect clean water. We just felt like the farmer wasn't treated as well as they could have been in that process.
Did Mr. Buffer have a...
Well, thank you for that. A sign that there may be a truce in the war on agriculture would be a signature on the tax bill. There's tax relief, property tax relief for farmers in there. There's also very important buffer funding in there for counties that take jurisdiction of this buffer issue. If those dollars aren't there, that work will not proceed, and frankly, the war on agriculture will continue.
It's pretty clear.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank
Thank
you
you,
all
guys.
for coming out. Appreciate it.
Thank you.